is just a 2-foot glide. And all that is you get yourself moving, you can mark it, you can push a little bit, and then take a couple steps, and you just glide.
Here today on the show with Dennis Norris II, and I'm so excited. They taught me how to figure skate. We're at City Ice, and we're going to talk a little bit about Dennis's work and how they got involved in ice skating. Can you say a little bit about that?
Yeah, so the skating thing is really funny because basically I had a babysitter when I was a kid in Cleveland Heights, Ohio, who was a competitive roller skater. And so every time she would babysit me, my parents would usually take me to her house. She was an older woman in the church, and we would watch these tapes of figure skating. And so I really wanted to do it for years, and I would watch it, and I was obsessed with it on TV, and I kept asking my parents for lessons, and they never gave it to me. So when I was 14, I started at a private school for high school, and they didn't have a gym class, but you had to do something, and I lived by a rink. So I walked to the skating rink one day after school. I picked up a list of private coaches. I called a coach. I scheduled a lesson for that week, and then I went to my dad, and I said, well, I have a skating lesson this week on Saturday. Wow. And then after the lesson, the coach was like, yeah, actually, your son's really talented. He should do this. And so once she had said that, that was like it. My parents were like, okay, we'll pay for it. We're in. And I went from there.
It's wonderful.
Yeah, I loved it. I love it.
And how has it helped you with your writing? Like, in what ways does it feel similar? How has it kind of given you space, mental space from the practice?
So I always tell people that the most obvious way in which it's helped my writing is that the learning curve in skating is really straightforward. When you're learning a skill, generally you're going to fall and 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 fall, and then you'll do it right, and then you'll fall and fall and fall, and eventually you'll do it correctly more times than you'll do it wrong. And you just have to keep at it. And so writing is a lot like that, especially when it comes to trying to publish and the amount of rejection that you face. You just hear no and no and no and no all the time. So the tenacity that it takes to actually make headway, I think a lot of that for me comes from skating. The other thing that I think is really helpful is that eventually you kind of have to learn how, especially when you want to compete, you kind of have to learn how to shut your brain off and trust your body, trust your training, trust your technique. And I find that in writing, sometimes I have to kind of shut my brain off and trust what's coming from inside me.
Oh my gosh, I have the same thing. I always talk about how free writing is so important because it gets you to that space of playful, just sort of generative. Your brain is not really on, and you're just in this mode, this zone. Yes. And the same thing sort of happens with skating. I haven't figure skated or ice skated in years, but the muscle memory started to kick in, and it was almost like getting into that zone with writing, where you're just there and everything's flowing.
It's about trust, and in a certain way, giving up a certain kind of control. And I think that is a really core part of any sort of artistic or creative process. There's more at work than just what's up here. And so leaning into that, trusting that, and again, I think maybe the first place where I began to understand that was in skating.
Yeah, and I think that there's just so much that doing something in another genre can teach you about your writing practice and vice versa.
Absolutely.
And help you be more resilient in your writing practice. Like what you said about falling and rejection, that's so profound and so true about the process. You have to fall all the time.
All the time.
All the time. And you keep falling even after you're an expert.
Yeah.
People fall doing Olympic routines.
All the time.
Yeah.
Some people have meltdowns at the Olympics. Sometimes I have meltdowns at my desk. It's the same thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm in the middle of a meltdown right now, so I understand that very, very well.
I feel you.
Yeah. I like to do a rapid fire with everyone.
Okay.
So I have a few questions for you. One of them is Tonya Harding or Nancy Kerrigan?
Nancy Kerrigan. Yeah.
I mean, as a...
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm a skater. I'm a purist.
I know. I come from I always go for the underdog, and so...
I know.
I'm very much a Tonya Harding person.
Everyone is very... In the world right now, everyone is very pro Tonya Harding, and it's not like I think she's a trash person, but no one in skating, I think, is really, like, all that excited about her, because she did something bad.
No, it's true. It's very true.
Like if I was a coach and she was a coach, I would not have my student compete against her student. I would be like, that's not happening. So
that makes sense.
Yeah. She was a brilliant talent, though. Brilliant talent.
Yes, that's true. But very, very, very diplomatic. French fries or tater tots?
Oh my God, I just love all fried potato. I think now tater tots.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, it would have been French fries. I hated tater tots when I was a kid.
How could you hate tater tots? Who are you?
I don't know. It was very strange, and now I love them.
It's the texture.
It's
like
the texture.
Having a full body crunch.
Yeah.
There's something about that.
It's magical.
It is magical. Magic in the mouth. So you have a really amazing podcast.
Yes.
Food for Thought. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
So Food for Thought is my heart, and it's a podcast that I do with 3 other queer writers, Tommy Pico, Fran Tirado, and Joe Osmondson. And it's kind of like a gay, brown, slutty version of The View, right? So it's like a panel, there's 4 of us, and we really do a lot to mix the highbrow and the lowbrow. So in the same conversation, we're talking about the beef between Nick Cannon and Eminem, and we're talking critical race theory. We're talking Beyonce and Borges all at the same time. We tell slutty stories from our lives, and we talk about the sort of complicated nuances of our current socio-political climate. We just go there. And the theory and the idea is that, like, these things are all living and coexisting in one world and in one space, and so we get to have a seat at the scholarly table and be slutty and give blowjobs underneath the scholarly table.
Yeah, and I want to be clear that it's Food for Thought, THOT.
Yes.
Yeah.
Food, the number 4, and thought spelled THOT.
Okay. And then a couple last questions. What are you working on right now? I've heard you read, and I love your stuff. A lot of it. Lots of queer themes, but also fatherhood. So what are you working on right now?
Yeah, so the big project right now is a novel that I'm trying to finish. The title is called When the Harvest Comes, and it's really about a very complicated moment in a young gay person's life when his father dies very suddenly on the night before he marries his husband, who's a sort of older white man, and his father was a minister, and so he imagines his father in heaven watching him, and he stops having sex with his husband.
Oh my gosh.
He just like stops having sex with his husband, and he's like, I'm sorry, I can't, like, I feel like my dad can see me. And so the book deals a lot with his childhood and his boyhood and his relationship with his father, and also his marriage and the sort of challenges that arise from that situation as he works through some trauma that he hadn't necessarily worked through.
That sounds amazing. Really, really amazing. And I've
you.
heard some of it, so I'm very, very excited. You've also written about figure skating for Shondaland, is it?
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's a young black figure skater who's coming on the American scene. She's one of the top 10 figure skaters in the country, and her name is Star Andrews. And if you guys will remember, about 10 years ago, there was a video of a little black girl skating that went viral, Skating to Whip My Hair by Willow Smith. And I remember seeing that when it went viral, and like she did some complicated skills in that, and I was like, this girl is talented, like she could go all the way, and we don't have very many of us at that level. So I got to interview her a couple years ago, and our conversation, I was able to publish it in Shondaland, which was really fun and amazing, and like I'm rooting for her, and I'm really excited about her. Yeah.
And we're rooting for you. I'm so excited. Thank you so much for being on the show today.
Oh my gosh.
You're one of my favorites. I can't wait for your book.
Thank you. You're amazing.
This is Dennis. Dennis is a great coach, great writer, great person, great everything. So look up the work, look up their new book when it's out, look up their essays, their short fiction, all of it's amazing.
Oh,
Thanks so much for being on Doing Stuff with Writers today.
Oh my God, thank
and
you.
I didn't even fall.
You didn't fall. You were you were amazing.
Crazy.
You were amazing.
Okay.
She did good.
Yeah. Okay.
Already, and you have really great posture. We're hearing all the skating classics, but no one is skating to them. We heard Rachmaninoff, we heard Bach, we heard this is Scheherazade, but no one's skating to them.
I think
Why is
you should be skating. Go, show us